Why, welcome back to our lovely cafe, Cafe Lily. Today we have a very special customer with us.
We do. Would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi, I'm Nova. I'm like a butch goat on the internet, and as you could probably tell because I'm on this podcast, I love Yuri.
And we have Nova here today because they created their own Yuri work and we want to talk about it with you.
So today we're going to talk about the fan game you worked on, Laura's Quest.
Yeah. So, Laura Quest is a Tropical Rouge Precure inspired fan game, which takes place about 2 or 3 years after the series finale, in sort of almost an alternate timeline where the main cast didn't reunite immediately after the end of that series. And it centers Laura, as you could probably have guessed, going on a mission to try and track down these sort of missing pieces in her life and figure out what is missing so that she can sort of become queen and not have this huge hole in her life. There's theoretically going to be about 5 chapters, each only about maybe 20-30 minutes of gameplay each. And this one focuses on Manatsu, who is the main character of Tropical Rouge Precure, and Laura's, heavy air quotes here. Just imagine I'm doing the air quotes, best friend. But yeah, it focuses on her specifically and sort of just trying, every route is going to be about like trying to earn the trust of each member of the Tropical Club again. So theoretically, and I say theoretically only because the first one is the only one that's done, they increase with difficulty in terms of what you have to do for each girl, because progressively they get harder and harder to win over.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of this.
Yeah, I know Sango's gonna be like the hard mode, the hardest of them all.
Yeah, I already have a lot of ideas for Sango, and I'm very excited.
I can't wait.
I
I hope she's normal.
know. I have a lot of things to say about her in particular.
I feel like you two could do a whole episode just talking about Sango together.
Oh my god, we probably could.
Well, of course, like one Sango expert and another is like a Nora expert, so like, of course,
Of course.
Mango's strongest soldiers.
I feel like I have to ask, since this is a Precure fan game, was Tropical Rouge the first Precure season that you've seen, or do you have more history with the series?
So, it was. It was funny enough. So in 2021, it was my first year when I was living with someone, because I'm still relatively young, and I had just moved out, and my roommate was like, "Hey, you should watch this." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" And then, as I was watching Tropical Rouge, all of these not necessarily repressed memories, but I was like, "Oh my god, I loved My Little Pony when I was like half my age that I am now. It makes sense that I would love Magical Girls. It makes so much sense in retrospect."
Yeah, I mean it's the clear pipeline,
It really is. And then I can't really pinpoint an exact reason aside from like Laura herself why Tropical Rouge was like the real big kicker for me to get into it. But I'd say when I was younger, I was really into mermaids, obviously. And this is a side tangent, obviously, but I would watch like these like homemade, filmed on like a waterproof GoPro videos of like young kid, like I was like no more than 11 at this point, and I would watch these very these like teenage girls. They would make like fan series about being mermaids and stuff like that, and I was just obsessed with it when I was like a little kid.
Oh my god.
So it was like, I was like, oh my god, the memories, they're all flooding back when watching it, yeah.
Just like Tropical Rouge.
It's just like Tropical Rouge. It literally is.
So I know that you both are Mango fans, but what is it about Laura and Manatsu that you think works so well together?
This is gonna sound mean, but I mean it in the most affectionate way possible. They kind of both lack common sense in a way that's really charming, and I really love to see them just sort of get up to stuff together. Because I feel like, especially once you get Sango in the mix and the other two, you have there's someone that's grounded to be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. But I feel like when you have just the two of them, it's just pure emotion, pure adrenaline. You're not thinking about logic, and I find that very fun to work with. So I'm really... I felt I could get really kind of... I don't want to say chaotic necessarily, but I felt I could get really silly and wacky with how they would interact with each other.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yes, those two are two chaotic beings, and I think the kill of it, it's just Laura will ask Manatsu to do something, and Manatsu agrees.
And she just does it.
Yeah, exactly. Because Manatsu's having to do whatever she wants with Laura, and you're just that very close with each other, because all these moments where Laura looks to Manatsu you idiot, why did you get yourself hurt like that, you idiot, be careful.
And it's Laura asked her to do that technically.
And it's gonna come together, Laura's just I'm more than happy to let these people perish for my cause. And then you just see Laura getting so worried.
Yeah, exactly. It's very good, and I'm really excited to sort of have that written progression. Her realize again and again, oh, these people are not disposable. I care about these people. But I don't really care that much about anybody else, because she's still Laura.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about the process of making a visual novel?
Yeah.
Alright, I would actually, because this is... Laura Quest is actually my first, completely... Or, well, I say completely, but, it's mostly solo. I'm mostly doing it myself. I have a little bit of help with one of my friends with writing, and then I had another friend chip in with the dialogue box. But everything else, the story, all the art pretty much, is all me. But something that really helped me was giving myself a deadline. Because if I had forever to do this, I would spend forever to do this. So, I told myself, I had just gotten done with school, I think, and I said to myself, I have to finish this by Laura's birthday, or else I'm never going to finish it.
Of course.
So, there was that, and then, as I did that, I started using Twine, which is a program that helps writing non-linear stories. Now, before this, I had attempted to write Laura Quest once before, and it was a hot mess because I was using Google Docs, and that gets very tedious to try and manage all of the branching paths because of how Google Docs is set up.
God, I can imagine.
Yeah, that got confusing really quickly. So I used Twine to sort of plot down all the points, and then I filled in between all of the key branches. And then after I had finished that writing, I sent the Twine file to my good friend, Cure Deity on Tumblr, and I think other places as well, which I would have to look again. But I sent it to them and had them look over mostly the grammar, to be quite honest, but also the characterization.
Hey, if you need any tips on writing Sango, I'm here.
I will definitely take you up on that offer.
We have the expert in the field right here.
Yeah, I'm Sango's auntie.
You are. And then Renpai has been a boon to me. I have done so much cool stuff with that, honestly. And after I got everything into the game, it was only a matter of I had to make all the art for it. And funny enough, you would expect someone like me to be oh, the art, that's what I do. Because I'm in art school. You'd think that would be the part I'd be the most psyched about. It wasn't. It was the part I was oh god, I gotta do the art for this.
Because you had to draw over the same frames too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that does technically make it easier. But it also makes it harder in a way because it's like you have to keep track of all these like separate little layers and everything like that.
Yeah.
I think the file for Laura's sprites just for chapter 1 had over like 100 layers.
Oh my.
And that was like after I had merged all of the like color layers together kind of thing for each sprite. So that was insane.
The art is fantastic, by the way. I love the way you draw the characters.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love your take on these characters. They're like really cute. Laura's really funny.
Thank you so much. It's funny because I've always been really inspired by, anime and manga and stuff like that. But the thing is, my stylistic influences in like how I draw are really Western animation inspired. So I think you get this really cool kind of like interpretations where it's like I'm using Western design sensibilities on these characters that were designed with anime sensibilities in mind.
Yeah, I love that. I think you can say the same thing about Rosa's art as well.
Oh, you can, and I think that's kind of how I feel like we met and like sort of connected initially.
Now, we are on Café Lily, so I have to ask, are there any Yuri visual novels that you've played that inspired your work or that you would recommend to people?
I cannot say it is exclusively Yuri, but I was really inspired initially to start working with visual novels because of Hive Swap Friend Sim, which is a spin-off of the Homestuck spin-off Hive Swap. Because I was really into that when it was first coming out in like 2018. This was a while ago. That's a whole can of worms. But anyways, that's what there is Yuri in that. There is Yuri in that, and it's pretty good. That was how I started making visual novels. I was like, oh, I'll make a Hive Swap Friend Sim style game. And then that didn't happen for a couple of years, and then I was like, oh, I love Tropical Rouge. How can I express my love towards Tropical Rouge? And I figured, you know what? I'll make a game.
Now, I want to know, do you plan on making another one after Tropical Rouge?
That's a really good question. I would like to. I'm thinking maybe, depending on how Hirogaru Sky ends, I would want to do something with that. Because the main reason I wanted to do Tropical Rouge specifically, aside from it being the one I had most attachment to, was I felt that, like, the end of the series, with them just, like, spoilers for the end of Tropical Rouge, I guess, with them just getting their memories, it was, like, less than, like, a month after everyone lost their memories. They're like, oh, we're back. Which, I will admit, now that I've taken some time to reflect, it is a very Tropical Rouge move for them to do that, considering the rest of the tone of the season. But I was, especially at the time, I was like, I feel like it would be more impactful if there was actually, like, a gap in between when they found each other again.
Would you see you would do, like, with a season like Star Twinkle?
I would. I really would. So I've actually, speaking of Star Twinkle, I put off, and I'm still putting off, finishing Star Twinkle because Hikaru's storyline near the end of the season, I had seen, like, bits and pieces of it, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna hurt me, isn't it?
Oh, no.
It's gonna hurt.
It's gonna hurt, but it's gonna hurt good.
I know, and I need to finish it because I feel like after I do that, I will be like, okay, I need to make something for this. I guess slight spoilers for Laura Quest, but I won't tell you where it is. There is a little shout out towards Star Twinkle in it.
Yeah, I saw, and I laughed with, like, how you had to get it.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I wanted to say about that is I wanted to make it so that even though not every ending of that would count towards the story, I wanted to make it so that, like, you would feel like you got something out of every ending. Like, yeah, you failed, but you got, like, a chuckle out of it, or you saw, like, a side to the character you didn't see before. So that was why that was kind of included.
Are we gonna get, like, a Sans kind of ending where, like, we get, like, a moment where, like, it's little Kururu coming up and, like, judging us for for like our choices.
Oh my god. That's not technically 100%. That's kind of not exact. But I was, and I can't say like how this would happen or anything, but I was thinking like at the very end there'd be like not necessarily a judgment, but there's like you get sort of evaluated for how many endings you got, and that determines the quote unquote true final ending.
We really look forward to like seeing more of this.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Where can people find you online and play Laura Quest?
So my hub of where everything is on the interwebs is currently my NeoCities site, which is intergoatlactic.neocities.org. I can give you it to put in the description, pretty much. But there's that, and then there's my Tumblr, which is literally at Cure Papaya, and those are my main two places where I post like fan art and stuff like that.
I think we should ask, how is Cure Papaya Minori your favorite? What makes him your favorite?
So technically, she's not my favorite. Laura's my favorite. But Minori is the first character that I've had in a really long time where I'm like, oh my god, that was me when I was 14 to like a T. Because before I started drawing, I was a writer. And I feel like because Laura Quest is fully written by me, pretty much, I'm like tapping back into that. Like, oh man, I'm bringing her back. Like, I feel like now I'm kind of different from her and everything. I wouldn't say that I would quote unquote kin her, as the kids say now. But if Tropical Rouge existed when I was 14 years old, I would have kinned her.
No, it's always a treat finding a character like that.
Yeah, it's always lovely.
It really is. And I really connected with her, and that's why I was like, oh, when I saw that URL on Tumblr, I was like, I'm gonna take that.
Rosa, you've been reading some Precure doujinshi.
That's right. In the spirit of Laura's Quest, I went back, reread some doujinshi, and got some 2 more. Now, first things first, I have this one here named I Can't Transform Without You. And it was written and illustrated by Oyo11 on Twitter. So, this one is a little short compilation of little bits and interaction between Tanaka Nagisa, Mai and Saki, and Hibiki and Kanade.
Of course, because they can't transform without each other.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So it's just like these little bits of moments, like how they react to each other. Like if they had to say "I love you" to each other, Hibiki would just say it bravely, hoping it breaks down Kanade. But like Kanade just laughs, and this just upsets Hibiki, and Hibiki's like, "Oh, just take the kiss."
Aww.
Then you get Saki and Mai, who's like, Saki's like, she's like really nervous. And she tells Mai, "Oh, I love you," and Mai's like, "I love you too." And they're like both embarrassed about it. And then we get Negasa. She looks at Hanukkah, and for once in her life, she tells her she loves her. And this makes Hanukkah like, "Oh, I love you too," and just Negasa's just incredibly happy afterwards.
That is very sweet.
Now I have the second doujinshi, a new one I read. It's by Turkey Basket. It is called, I'm having trouble saying this word, but Intermezzo. It's about Hibiki and Kanade and the aftermath of their reconciling after so long. It's a very sweet one. It talks about how they feel after getting back together, how anxious they feel, how everyone's seeing them get back reconciled. It's like, oh my gosh, is this the end of the world? Someone tell the prince. And like just seeing the response to this, them being friends again, being close again, and it's very sweet because it just talks about how they seem like a whole lot happier. It's happy to be that they're together again, and they're able to grow past it. Now I do have to disclaim that you can find these online, but sometimes doujinshi are only sold at like conventions or certain time periods. So they might have other works up, but I'm not sure if these works are still around. But it doesn't hurt to check it out. Now, for these two manga ones, both illustrated by Pucci_5682. Now, first one is Dear My Sweet, which is basically a compilation of Minori and Sango together, just hanging out, speaking to each other, and it's just like, will they know? Will they? Won't they? It's kind of like they're always flirting on the lines of like being a couple.
I love that kind of stuff, to be honest. Where
Yeah.
it's like everybody knows, but they do.
But yeah, like Sango's just being sweet to her, like, oh hey Minori, check out this little hair bracelet. Let me try it on you. Or like she finds Minori's like, oh, I always see her with glasses on. I never see them without. Let me try them on. Then Minori just wakes up and takes a picture of her. Oh yeah, you look cute in my glasses. Stuff like that. It's very sweet. They even buy like an earrings together, and Sango's just very happy. And luckily, you can purchase this online. It's still up in the store. Let's go to the bitter part. The girl who I love, the girl who loves me. Now this is a sad one.
Oh.
Basically, it takes place after the ending of Tropical Rouge, after everyone gets their memories back. It's the internal conflict of Sango trying to deal with the fact that Minori doesn't love her the way she likes Laura.
That is sad.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Cause that's kind of like almost like a love, not necessarily a love square, because it doesn't even wrap back around, but it's like Sango is pining after Minori, and Minori is pining after Laura, but Laura's mostly involved with Manatsu, so it's, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's what it basically is here. And it's very sad too, because you get this moment where like, Minori's tried on clothes. She asks, what do you guys recommend? And Laura and Sango recommend her outfits. But Minori would buy the one recommended by Laura, and this obviously hurt Sango, and it's very sad.
Oh.
It's like Sango's just trying so hard here to get to win over Minori.
But it's just not working. Gosh. That's such like young teenage experience. You have that sort of thing happening.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very sad one. Luckily this one's also on the shop.
Nova, you've been reading Carousel Waltz.
I have by Cecil on To Pass, or I believe that's how you pronounce it. But Carousel Waltz is a Utena-inspired Yuri webcomic where the two main characters, Cicely and Anthea, are they're planning on going off to college together. So they're a little, they're like high school age, getting ready for college. And one of them is apprehensive for applying to one of the schools that they're trying to go to. That's Cicely. So what happens is Anthea gets a hold of Cicely's phone and submits for them, and that causes a huge rift in their relationship, and now they have to become magical girls together and sort of figure out how to reevaluate their friendship and discover, maybe, it's more than friendship, maybe it's some kind of hopefully healthy relationship. And that is on topass.io, and if I remember correctly, it's not currently finished and it's undergoing revisions. So there's going to be like a version 2.0 coming out at some point. But what is up there is really nice. I think I've already linked it to Kel's. But yeah, it's I've been following this creator since I'd say 2018, 2019. and it's been really cool to watch them grow and come to make. I don't want to say that Carousel Waltz is necessarily their magnum opus. I don't want to speak for them, but it really feels like the culmination of what they were working on up until that point.
Okay, interesting. I'm definitely going to check that out. I love anything that's Utene inspired. I love to read comics. I am curious how they get from point A to point B. How does a university application lead to them becoming magical girls?
Yes. You know how it is.
These things happen.
Sometimes you just become magical girls because, yeah.
I'm definitely going to read that one. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah, thank you. Now, are we ready for this week's surprise Yuri?
Oh, I don't know. I'm new here.
Rosa, what's your surprise Yuri that you want to talk about?
Surprise Yuri. I hope Cleo likes my Yuri discussion.
Are you joking?
Clone High Season 2. So, in Clone High Season 2, Abe and Cleopatra are no longer a couple. And the moment Cleo became more relevant in an episode, she and Frida Carla started getting along really well. They were able to speak to each other, communicate each other through eyebrows, and they got really close. They liked the same music and everything. Eventually, they found themselves in a French film and decided to become a couple.
Good on them.
And that's pretty much it. It was only 2 episodes. It was like 2 episode long arc.
Hey, it's something.
It's something.
Well, thank you for sharing your mystery Yuri with us.
Thank you for the mystery Yuri.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Nova.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to have you here and be our first customer.
Yeah, it was a great time. I was wondering, like, before the episode that came out this week as of recording this, I was wondering, like, oh, are they gonna have another guest before me? And I'm like, oh my god, I'm the first guest.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining.
I'm honored.
Everyone, make sure to play Laura Quest, follow Nova on his Tumblr.
And tune in for next time. Thank you all for joining.